Hello everyone, so I'm pleased to talk with you about alternative controller, especially as applied to puzzle game. I hope you will understand me despite my strong French accent. So to begin, I'm Kalinarm. I'm the creator of a game that is called Linko. I can start maybe with a brief introduction to my background. So my whole world was creating interactive installation. So I tried to create experience that mixed art, entertainment, and events. And my trademark is in fields was the addition of interactivity. And which art is interactive by nature? Yes, it's video game. So it's quickly become my main passion. Here are a few examples of concepts I've created. They range from video game projected onto building using video mapping to interactive installation with alternative control. For example, in the one of the top middle, player plays by placing letter on a box to simulate their letter to Santa Claus. On the top right, you have a game that is projected as a hologram, which detects a wooden platform and adapt the level design accordingly. At the bottom right, you have a brick breaker that was played by moving in front of the camera, and at the bottom, you have a huge crank, like a big play date, in fact, which control a mappy 3D content mix between animation, movie, and video game. So I quickly become passionate about interactive situations that mix video game and situational content. And I'm telling you about this experience because I think it marked my way of creating games and my interest in alternative controller in particular. So alternative controller is really some kind of a niche, but a really funny one. So there are certain festivities that promote this, like Alt Control GDC, and it's something you often find at video game fairs. One thing I really like about alternative controller is the fact that allow to change the classical situation in video game of just sitting in front of a screen. Alternative controller bring some reality to gaming, bring some tangible to gaming, and is something that can really change the experience. The other thing is to allow more different gaming situation. Controls such as mouse or keyboard have the effect of standardizing the way you play. This is something that alternative controller can shake up. Since what's important in the video game is above all the experience it offers, alternative controller are a great way of finding new, more immersive and more engaging form of experiences. For example, it allows us to multiply the way in which we play game and create new way of interacting. For example, some escape game have become a mix between a real experience and a video game. Here, for our example, several players can control a submarine and each with its own station to manage, and each station is played differently. The whole experience is new and original and completely immersive. We're somewhere between a video game and a real life role playing game. So, if we deconstruct this installation, it's a video game with several alternative controller and a new multimodal and multiplayer way of playing. It's offering a complete new kind of engaging experience. Another example on a game I really love, Keep Talking and Nobody Explode. One person has actually reproduced the game in real life. So it's an alternative controller that go a long way in this case since it is also remade completely the game. It's so cool, and yeah, alternative controller are great, but it's not something very widespread. And it's easy enough to understand why. We'll get the problems that come with it. And this one is a very good example of a problem that I want to address. Inherent with alternative controller, it's specificity. So it's the first problem that come in mind with the alternative controller. When you make one, it's usually a one-off and it's made to work with a single set. Often, even it's a game that have been made specifically for that controller and that way of playing. Because of these specificities, the controller will be difficult to adapt to another game. And what's more, they're often prototype, and when you're not called Nintendo, it's hard to mass produce and deliver them worldwide. So most alternative controller only exist in a single copy and often work with a single game that also made for that controller. Mind you, I'm not criticizing it because it's great for experimenting and I love creating that kind of thing, but it's a strength and a weakness at the same time. Because we would do agree with it. It's hard to share this kind of experience with others, specifically in other locations. So this specificity often prevents you from turning the work you've done into something lasting. So on the one hand, I love making alternative controller. On the other, I love making game, but I end up with 40 prototype of both. So with the impression that I'm I'm recoding the same things every time and that I have to take my electronics apart to salvage a few parts before making the next one. So although as an engineer, sorry, I will drink a bit. As an engineer, to solve this problem, I have I want to create a standard. So to create an interface so this world can communicate together without having to redo specific things every time. And that's where the video game I'm developing come in. It's Linko. So Linkito, it's a puzzle game based on the principle of connection. You have block, each one with a unique function, and you connect the block together to create system, machine, and thus to find the solution to the puzzle. You can interact with certain block and place some from your inventory to really create the solution you want. I've created a unique system of connection between the block, which is pretty close to what we know from graphic programming, but gamified. As a joke, I often say it's like Unreal blueprints, but with ethics. So, however, my system has one particularity. Several types of information can pass through this connection, and they're all compatible with each other. So it can be Boolean, number, text, even video signal. So we have a complete functional system, and one of the first things I created in the game was the level editor. And there is a reason for this. In fact, by doing this, I transform a bit the game into a creative tool, as we will see together. I also made a strong commitment to the idea that everything I did in the game, I gave it to the editor so that the player could handle it himself and use it for himself. For example, narration and dialogue are also blocked that you can put yourself with the editor and use it to create your own narration. Camera movement is also defined by blocks, so you get the idea. Once you've created your level, you can share it on the cloud so other player can play it like Mario Maker or Roblox. And it's a good way of creating a community around the game. So we have a complete system for level design and even game design. You can create new kind of game. And that's where I want to connect the game to various electronic device I made. So I added block to communicate with other service or protocol. In fact, my old job was when I was creating interactive installation was basically to create experience that mix several domains and therefore to synchronize device together. So there are modules to communicate with external service or device, and that can be activated in the option of the game. These modules are configurable, allow you to define, for example, an IP address, but that doesn't alter the level and the data, just the branching of the data. So anyone who swaps level and has the same equipment at home will be able to run it under the same condition. And this creates some kind of standard defined by the game, which enable interactive game situation to be exchanged between player and to be duplicated. To take a specific example, the game can connect to serial port and thus communicate, for example, with the Arduino. It's a small electronic board, and communication is in both direction. So I built a little system with my Arduino, create a level to go with it, and I made an alternative controller like you see here. It's just a joystick, but it's to have the principle. And after I can send the code. Arduino is common now. I can set the code, I can send the level to another person, to a friend, and maybe and it allow him to duplicate my situation, my alternative controller, and to play the same level. And in return, maybe he can send me another puzzle that is being played and created for the same controller. So all my code for alternative controller is put on GitHub, and we encourage the community to share their creation. This way, little by little, we will have a database of possible controller with software code and hardware planes to ensure reproducibility like an open source model. To give concrete example, I'll 3D printed this robot arm I found on our open source website. website. So anyone with a 3D printer or access to a fab lab can print the same robot arm. And if I create a level that uses this robot arm to create a puzzle, it can be played by anyone who has print the same robot arm. So it's make it easy to duplicate game situation and standardize the interface between alternative controller. If someone has made a different robot arm, they can configure the game to communicate in the same way and play the same puzzle but with a slightly different controller. Another example of alternative controller made using RFID Reader. This has enabled me to make several levels and can be played simply by placing ball on a wooden box. Another interesting thing about this module systems is that you can combine them. For example, the game can be integrated with Twitch or even ChatGPT. All in all, with any service in the form of a webbook, you can create even more original game situation. And even you can create complete escape games that can be played over several modalities. Two instances of the game can communicate with each other in multiplayer mode, and each can manage its own set of equipment. Another example of an immersive puzzle I'm currently creating with Linko is a situation that will mix several alternative controllers, including a complete robot which is connected to the game and to ChatGPT. This robot will be the main interface and can guide the game by voice. The puzzle will be completed by retrieving information from the robot as well as by manipulating alternative controller connected to the game at the same time. In short, I now have a whole system that lets the player create complete installation without touching a line of code and directly in my game with the same mechanism that the game uses. So nothing to learn in addition to create new things. This was one of the goals of the project, and I'm quite happy with the result. So it's something to give to the players the same joy I have when I create interactive installation. I could talk for hours about all of this, but the time is ticking. But it's really bring my two passions together. So I've managed to unify all my electronic projects and make them all compatible with the game. So it's something new for me. Of course, it's not for every player. It's completely optional in the game, but I've already seen that quite a few people are interested in that. I've already got some beta testers who are starting to create level, controller, and even complete escape game, and I'm really curious about what's going to come out of all of this. In any case, feel free to wishlist Linkito on Steam and join the Discord so we can discuss and exchange any great idea you might have. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope it's given you the desire to tinker a bit with alternative controller. Thanks. I don't know if you have any question.
Thank you so much. I think we might not have time for questions, sadly.
Sorry.
It's awesome to see those alt controllers working with Linkito. That's super cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.